Now I'm going to cover loading a ROM and exploring the rooms. So the first thing you do is load from ROM. It gives you a few messages and it includes these warnings, but you can ignore them. They are completely fine. You can see that these areas here appeared, and these are the 8 areas that are in the game. Technically, you only play 7 areas because the debug area is not used. And generally, when you're making a ROM hack, you don't use this area either. This is the starting series space station. You can see that all of these areas are grouped up. So for example, this is Crateria, and all the Crateria rooms are grouped underneath it. Because this was a vanilla ROM, Smart knew what the names of all the rooms are. And so you have things like Landing Site or Parlor and Alcatraz. If I click on areas, you can see that the maps appear. And if I were to double click on these, or if I were to click edit, then I would actually be able to edit the map. And a similar thing happens if I click on rooms. You get a preview of the room, and if you double click or if you click edit, you can edit the room. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So a few things happened, and one of them for the eagle-eyed would be that you saw the clipboard appear. I prefer to dock it down here. That is just gonna be whenever you select anything, it'll appear here. Another thing that's on the side of the screen is this tile map selector. It disappears when you mouse away, but you can pin it if you want, and I'm going to do that. So there's a few things over on this side too. I'm gonna skip this for now. I'm gonna get to the second thing here in just a little bit, and I'll get to the third thing in a little bit after that. But obviously the big thing here in the middle, that's the actual room editor itself. And so I'm going to go through and explain what all this stuff is that we're looking at. So probably the most obvious thing are these red squares. And you can see these squares everywhere. They're red, blue, and green. These are called scrolls, or camera scrolls, or scroll boxes, or screens. And you can see here, they're called screen scroll bounds in Smart. And so basically, they're used to tell the camera where it can and can't go while you're playing the game. Red means that the camera is not allowed to show anything on that screen. Blue means that most of the screen is shown, but not the bottom part here. And green just shows everything. Blue looks better, but green is something you're going to want if you are going through a door at the bottom of a screen. And you may have noticed that, well, you didn't notice this, but you can click on them to change them, which is nice. You can cycle through, but what I wanted to show was here, this red scroll. And you may be thinking, well, it's an area that you go through, so shouldn't it be a different color? And you're actually right. So the reason that you can see that area when you're playing the game are these little pips here. These are PLMs, post-load modules, and specifically, this is a kind of PLM called a scroll PLM, and when you pass through it, it's going to change the color of this in the game. But there are actually many different kinds of PLM. So for example, these arrows, these are PLMs. And if I go back over here, you could see this red door cap or pink door cap. That is also a different kind of PLM. So they're good for lots of different things. And you can actually go over here and you can turn the visibility for those on and off. You can do that for enemies too. These little bugs, S-bugs, they are in the enemy layer and you can kind of hide them if you want. And then we're pretty much just looking at block data now. So this green outline is kind of outlining all the solid areas in the game. Then you also have these other tiles, like this door cap, which is made out of shot blocks. And these door tiles, these are what actually change the room when you touch them. And the numbers you see are called BTS. So every block has a block type in BTS, but that's not important right now. Under display options, which is this third tab, you can, if you want, show the collision with a different kind of setting. I prefer not to, but this is good if you're double checking that you haven't missed anything. I tend to just keep it as an outline, but for the purposes of demonstration, this is a really good way to show what the different tiles are. And the very last thing that I really would like to mention in this video are these blue squares. And these are the error layer. So you can see I've turned it off and on again. All of these blue squares are things that Smart is telling you might be a problem. You can see down here, there are 49 of them in this room. You can expand that, and look, there's so many. But most of them aren't problems. Still, I'm going to, in the next video, fix one of these just to show you how the level editing works.